All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Oscar B. Today is August 5th, 2024, and I failed my schedule on the first day. That is my fault. However, I have been in the middle of moving. I just finished moving and getting caught up with all the work I missed, so now we should be good to go. As you can see, I'm now at a new desk, and hopefully this camera setup is a little better for what we're doing. I also thought a lot about the structure of these and how I can better format them so that they're easier to follow as opposed to me just going on rants. So what I've decided I'll do is every unit I'm just going to read through the vocab first. I'm going to try and see how much of it I can remember and then go over what each word means and any tricks I remember on how to remember them. Following that, I will read through the grammar and then I will read through the dialogue, and finally I will cover the reading and writing. So last time we were in the middle of Unit 1. So I read through all the grammar, however, I did not read through the dialogue or vocab. So let's do vocab first. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to, on these, let me explain this first. So as I covered in the last video, tango means vocabulary in Japanese. So when this says tango, it's just talking about the vocabulary. I think I mentioned this in the last video. I actually have the book right over here. If you ever see something like tango N5 mentioned or JLPT exams, this is the type of book we're talking about. This is not the JLPT N5 exam, however, this is a very popular study book that people use, and I haven't looked at it in quite a while, but it is pretty useful when you're studying Japanese. I haven't used it since I started taking the classes, but I still hold it just in case I want to review. So let's go through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some paper towel. I'm gonna grab paper towel. I will cover the meanings and then I will go through each word and figure out if I can remember what they say or not. The first column is a Japanese reading of, in the first couple units, it's just hiragana, maybe one or two katakana. The second line is what's called romanji readings. So this reads daigaku. So here you say daigaku. It says ko, so you see ko. And then in this final column is the English meanings. So let's go through. Daigaku should mean university. Let me flip this actually so it's easier. Yep, university. All right, koko means high school. Yep. Gakusei means student. Daigakusei means college student. And the easiest way to remember these is dai means big. So, I forgot the word that's generic for school, but when you say daigaku, it means big school, which translates to university. Daigakusei means big student, which translates to college student. Ryugakusei means international student. I'm honestly not sure the best way to memorize this. It's just something that I memorized. Sensei is teacher or professor. And then this little squiggle, nensei. These are usually used for counter words. So for example, we will review this, I believe, in Unit 2 and 3. But the Japanese counting system is 1 through 10 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when it has this little dash, that means it's typically a counter. The hardest part about Japanese is learning these counter variables, and because depending on what you're counting is something different. So this paper towel, you would use a different counter ending, whereas this iPad, you use something different. This desk, you would use another thing different. My phone, you would use another different thing. So this one, nensei, is for the student's year. So if you wanted to say you're a first year student, you would say ichinensei. Second year would be ninensei. Third year would be sannensei. And there are a bunch of exceptions to these counters, which you can review in the back of the textbook. In the appendix, there is a number section. And in the number section, it goes through all the different counters. At the bottom, you can see what they're used for. You can see right here the regular counters I talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then nan or nani for how many. And then all of these other hiragana are the exceptions. So we were covering nense. Let's see if we can find it. I don't see it. However, no. Yeah, I don't see it, but it's fine. The one exception for sorry for the car. I am now on college campus, so I get to live with the loud and noisy cars. Anyway, so the only exception for nense is yon. You don't say yon nense. You just say yon nense. All right, let's keep going. Senko. I forget. Is that middle school? No, that's that's major. So if you want to talk about my major, watashi no senko wa finance desu. My major is finance, or just simply senko wa finance desu, or senko wa non desu ka? What is your major? And so what I'll do is I'll highlight the ones in green that I forgot. All right, let's keep going. Watashi. This is one that I know I mentioned a couple times. Watashi means I. Tomodachi means friend. San is it's an honorific term. So san, kun, sensei, senpai, etc., etc. Those are all honorific terms used for various reasons. San is the most common and typical you'll hear used between friends. Not close friends though, maybe so acquaintances. If they're super close friends, you might refer to them as kun, or maybe just not use any honorific term at all. And they define it as Mr. Mrs. Jin is the counter for time. I got that wrong. It's actually the counter for people. I will need to review that actually. So, 1jin, 2jin, 3jin, 4jin, 5jin. I think I have that wrong. I will need to look over that. Okay, let's keep going. Nihonji. Oh, that's what I'm being dumb because jin isn't used for a counter. Okay. See, this is the summer rust wearing off. So, jin and another use of these squiggly lines is when you're talking about different countries. So, I'm American. We're reviewing Japanese, so some people may be Japanese. The Japanese word for Japan is Nihon. So if you wanted to say Japanese people, or in English we would just say Japanese, we would just say Nihonjin. If we wanted to say American people, we'd say America-jin. If you wanted to say French people, we'd say Furansu-jin. Makes sense? I'm sorry I got that wrong before. That makes sense why it wasn't making sense when I was saying it out loud. I was very confused. All right, here we go to time. Ima means now. Gozen means AM. Gogo means PM. Ji, that's the counter for time, or they define it as o'clock. So 1ji, 2ji, 3ji, 4ji, 5ji, 6ji, 7ji, 9ji. That's the big exception. 9ji in 10ji. Yoji is also an exception. You don't say yonji, you say yoji. All right, and then they have an example. 1ji, which is 1 o'clock. Han is like saying half past, or we would say 5:30. Here we would say 1ji han. And then they have an example here, 2ji han, which means 2:30, or half past 2. All right, some others I mentioned before. The word for Japan is Nihon. America is America. And this script is what we call katakana, which we will review next unit. Go is another term that is for language. So the word for Japan is Nihon. But if you want to say Japanese, you say Nihongo. English is a little special because so many different countries speak English, so the word for that is just eigo. And how you spell that is eigo. Eigo. Yep. I don't think there's an extra u at the end of this. Yeah, eigo. All right. Sai is another counter. Sai is the counter for age. So if you wanted to say you're 13 years old, you would say 13 sai. 13 years old. There are a few exceptions for this. One is 18 and the other is 20, which I will go over in just a minute. Denwa means phone, I believe, or telephone, yep. And ban is evening. Oh, number. Okay, I also got that one wrong. Honestly, I never used ban a lot. Oh, wait, yes I did. Because if you're counting things or you have a question about a certain problem on a worksheet, you don't say, sumimasen, sensei, ichi wa nan desu ka? Like, one is what? You would say ichiban, number one. Same thing in English. You don't call your professor over and say, oh, hey professor, what is one? Like, you could say that and they would understand, but it would be more proper to say what is number one. Same sort of thing in Japanese. They would understand it if you say just ichi, but the proper way is ichiban. All right, keep going. Bango is number. Yep. So I remember that because one phrase you'll hear a lot while you're studying is denwa bango, which means phone number. Namae is name. I mentioned that in the last unit. If you want to introduce yourself, you say namae wa Osuka desu or watashi no namae wa Osuka desu. And I accidentally reviewed this last one, but it's nan or nani, which means what. Some of these expressions are more things that you use as fillers, things you may not use as often, or introductory or ways to introduce a sentence. So ano or etto or are all what they use in Japanese for in English when we say like or so. So we say well. In Japanese you say sumimasen, and then you go from there. Hai is the word for yes. They don't include it on here, but iie is the word for no. Soul is like yes, you're right. And soul desu ka is like I understand, or I see, is that so? All right, and then some additional vocab. I won't cover these just for the sake of time, but these are all extremely useful to know. You'll notice I have a lot of highlights in here already. These are from my previous year, or the last 2 semesters studying Japanese. So in Japanese, these highlighted terms and additional vocabulary were the only ones we needed to memorize. And then I'm going through with a green highlighter to highlight what I need to review. Yep, some of these majors are useful for conversation if you're in university. Otherwise, it's okay to skip. All right, let's review sai. That, I didn't highlight that. Here it is. Sai is a big one that you want to know. So we'll review that and then go over the conversations, and then we'll move over to chapter 2. So let's find it. Here it is. Sai, years of age. So when we look in this column, you'll see that there are a number of terms, or a number of exceptions used for the same terms. So if you're counting cents, weeks, books, or years of age, you're going to use the same exceptions for that. So if you want to say 1 years old, you would say 1歳. This small suit, all right, a big suit might look like this, or a small suit looks like this. This is just adding a gap between the words, or sorry, between the syllables. Excuse me, sorry. So let's go over it. So if you want to say 1 years old, you say 1歳, 2, 2歳, 3歳, 4歳, 4歳, 5歳, 6歳, 7歳, 8歳. Yes. So this is the exception I was talking about. At 18, you don't say 8歳, you say, or for 18, you would say 10, 8 age. So you say 18歳. And then here's the exception, 10歳. Again, just adding a little gap between the sai. There is also an exception for 20, which they don't actually include on here. However, it's used a lot as because when you're in university, a lot of people, you're surrounded with maybe 20. I believe that one, actually, I'll just be fully honest, I can't remember. And this is why we love Google. So let's look that up real quick. Except my browser has crashed for some reason. Look at that. All right. Counting age 20. Oh, and Japanese. Yes. The exception for 20 is 20. So, 20. Don't ask me why. I don't know. That's just how it is. All right. Let's go over the conversations and then we'll move on to chapter 2. So, the first dialogue. Mary, an international student who just arrived in Japan, meets a Japanese student, Takashi, at a school orientation. こんにちは、木村隆です。メアリーハートです。留学生ですか？いいえ、日本人です。そうですか。何年生ですか？4年生です。So, a couple things to note. First, you'll notice that they put this at the end of each and every sentence. This is incredibly important. If you're talking to someone you don't know, always add this to the end of your sentence. You will always get points taken off. If you've ever taken calculus and you're doing integrals, you know that if you don't add this plus C at the end, you instantly get half your points taken off, which is always so frustrating. It's the exact same thing for this. All right, so what does this actually mean? こんにちは、木村隆です。This is saying, hello, my name is Kimura Takashi desu. Now, you'll notice they don't say, 私の名前は Kimura Takashi desu. This is because Japanese uses a lot of context. And so when you and exactly one other person are talking, you're talking straight at each other, you know it's the first time you're meeting, and you say, Kimura Takashi desu. You don't need to include watashi no namae wa, or even namae wa, because it can be inferred that you're talking about your own name. And then that's the same thing that happened here. Meari hato desu. Now, one thing to note about names is you'll see this little dot. In Japanese, you always write the last name followed by your first name. When you're speaking, writing, really doing anything. However, if you want to write first followed by your last name, you need to add this little dot. So here where you see Kimura Takashi desu, they don't include this dot, so you know in English we would say his name is Takashi Kimura. Whereas here they include the dot, so we know that her name is Meari Hato desu. All right, second dialogue. At the orientation, Mary introduces herself to everyone. はじめまして、メアリーハートです。アリゾナ大学の学生です。日本生です。 専攻は日本語です。19歳です。よろしくお願いします。So there are a few things we didn't cover in this passage. First is はじめまして. This is simply an introductory term. If you're seeing someone new or you're introducing yourself, the first thing you say is はじめまして. It's good to meet you all. メアリハットです. We just talked about that. アリゾナ大学の学生です. This is that word 大学 we reviewed in the vocabulary, which means college. And then Arizona, which literally translates to Arizona. Arizona 大学 literally means Arizona University. And then no, remember that is our noun connector. 学生です. 学生 means student. So we're saying Arizona University, connecting that to student this. So we know she's a student at Arizona University. 日本生です. Here we see Nihon, which means Japan, and Se is student, I believe. Let me double check that though, because I think I might have that wrong. Nihon Se. Let's see, nothing is showing up. Literally, it translates to made in Japan. However, I believe in this context, it's just translating to Japanese student. Like we would say, gakusei, school student. Nihonsei is Japanese student. Senko wa nihongo desu. So here's two more vocabulary we learned. Senko is major. This wa term, X is Y des. So major is Nihongo, which is the Japanese language. 19歳です. Here's that counter sai, which we know means age. 19 is 19, so we know that Mary is 19 years old. And then here's the last thing we didn't cover. よろしくお願いします. This is something you say anytime at the end of meeting someone. If you just want to say it's great to meet you, if you're exchanging business cards, in a formal context, if you're exchanging business cards, you accept their business cards, you bow to them, and you say よろしくお願いします. And then you move on. But however, in this more classroom introductory sense, you just always add よろしくお願いします. It's great to meet you. All right. Well, that is it for lesson 1. Should we start lesson 2? Here's what I'll do. I'll go over the vocabulary for lesson 2 today. We will briefly touch over it tomorrow and go from there. And then at the end of this video, I'll cover the schedule for the next few weeks. All right, so lesson 2 is called kaimono, which means shopping. All right, we see there are 2 dialogues, and now we move on to our tango. So again, I will cover this so that I can quiz myself, and we will go from there. Okay. So here we see, this is a new series of words that takes some time to getting used to. But you see, kore, sore, are, dore, kono, sono, ano, doko, or dono, koko, soko, asoko, doko, adare. There's a lot of words. They all sound similar. What do they mean? I'm actually not gonna cover that for this because I think it's more important that we just figure it out. So the best way to imagine this is with a table. Because as I'm sure you could hear, there are 3 main starting sounds. You either hear ko, so, or a. Koko, soko, asoko. So let's write those up here. Ko, so, a. All right, and then you saw that we had kore, sore, where is that? Sorry, kore, kono, and koko. So I will, again, right at the top, I need to add another line. Here we go. Sore, kore, kono, and koko. All right, and now we can immediately create all of these terms. So we have kore, kono, koko, sore, sono, soko, are, ano, and then this is the one exception, and this is the one you have to memorize. This is a soko. So what do these all mean? Well, these first ones on the left side, ko, sol, and a, are the distance. So I have my computer mouse right here. If I wanted to say this mouse and I'm holding it, I would say kono mousu desu. Whereas if I set the mouse down over there, I would say sono mousu desu. And then if I had it across the room, I would say ano mousu. In reality, you wouldn't use different words for just one room. But say I'm talking about this iPad I'm holding, I would use the Cole series. Whereas if I'm talking about another room in the building, maybe the next door room, I would use Sol. But if I'm referring to a room across the building or another building in general, somewhere else far away, you would use the A series. Another way to think about this is saying this, that, and over there. I personally never liked these translations because, as you know, in English, it is very ambiguous which one of these you use. You can kind of use any for any situation. It's similar in Japanese. It doesn't matter that much, but it's great to know, and you need to know it for your Japanese class. So now we move to the top row, the Re series, No series, and Ko series. I see. Thank you. So, right, the Re, No, and Ko series. The Re series is just talking about something generally. So if you just want to say this thing, you would say kore. Whereas if you wanted to refer to it specifically, you see no here. That is one of the particles we learned in lesson 1 that connects two nouns. And it's the same thing here. If you want to say this iPad, you would say kono, connect it to iPadu. Kono iPadu. Whereas koko is referring to, if I remember correctly, which I might not, yes, this is more referring to locations specifically. I had this kind of wrong before when I was explaining it, but the Re series and No series, you can use them for places, but typically you use the Ko series. It's just more formal that way, and that's how you learn it. So if I wanted to talk about my dorm building, I would say Koko dorumu desu. This dorm. So I hope that made sense. And then we have this final word at the bottom, dare, which means who. You'll learn that throughout the lessons, you learn that who, what, when, where, and why words. So far, we've learned what, which is nan or nani. Now we've learned who, which is dare. All right, now we will move on to the food category. Oishii means delicious. Sakana means fish. Tonkatsu means a pork cut or pork cutlet. Niku is meat. Menu is menu. Yasai is cheap. No, vegetable. Look at that. Tons of things I'm forgetting. Okay, now we move on to things. Kasa is an umbrella. Kaban is shoe. No, it's not. It is bag. Kaban is bag. Kutsu is a knife. No, it's not. It is shoes. Saifu is wallet. Jeans is jeans. Jitensha is train. No, it's not. It's bicycle. Shinbun is, I think that is newspaper. I forgot that. Sumaho is smartphone. T-shirt is t-shirt. Toke is watch. And noto is notebook. And then we have more. Pen is pen. Boshi is, I know this, but I forgot. That is hat or cap. And hon is book. All right, now we move on to places. Ginko is bank. Konbini is a convenience store. Toire is the bathroom. Toshokan is a library. And Yubinkyoku. There we go. Yubinkyoku is a how do you say it? Like the place you send letters. Post office. That's what I was thinking of. I will be fully honest with you. These places are probably what I had most trouble with memorizing. It's just one of those things where you have to know it. And then they have more countries. These are the ones you really need to know. Igirisu is Britain. Kankoku is Korea. And Chugoku is China. A difference here notes that Kankoku is ko and Chugoku is go. Again, that voiced and voiceless. Majors, we have eigo, which is English. Keizai, which is economics. Computer, which is computer. Business, which is business. Rekishi, which is history. And then some family terms. We have okasan, which is mother, and then otou-san, which is father. Money matters. Ikura is how much. En is a counter for yen, so you say 100 yen for 100 yen. Takai is expensive. Some expressions. Irashaimase is like welcome in, or as I say, welcome to our store. Onegai shimasu is what we covered earlier. It's like it's nice to meet. Ooh, actually, I got that wrong. I'm thinking of, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it already. I'm thinking of yoroshiku onegai shimasu, which is it's pleased to meet you. But just onegai shimasu is please. Kudasai is also please, but it's used more how they describe here, so please give me. These two are honestly interchanging when you're requesting something. It just depends on which one you want to use and likely what region you're in, depending on what they use more frequently. I revealed that earlier. That's again one of those more sentence filler. Your ja. Ja is used more of it as an introductory. So you say, じゃあ一緒にMSU に行きましょう。That's saying, well, so let's go to MSU. Dozo is please have it, and domo is a more casual thank you. If someone says dozo to you, you say domo, unless they're an immediate supervisor or higher up, in which you can say arigato or arigatou gozaimasu. But typically, you can just use domo. All right. As you can see, Lesson 2 has a lot more vocab than Lesson 1. My gosh, I'm so sorry. I will be fully honest with you. Lesson two's tango, that's what I'm trying to say, is the first point where you start feeling really stressed in Japanese. This is the unit that makes or breaks you on how well you're going to do throughout the semester. So I strongly recommend that you take the time to really master the vocabulary in this section, because it will do you wonders for the future sections. I know my professor always used the nouns and things, places, countries, majors, the words that point, as they call it. We use those all the time. Even as we're doing lesson 12, we're still using these words extremely frequently. So I strongly recommend you get a very firm grasp over these. As you can tell, I did not remember all these. I will review them more tonight before I go to bed, and tomorrow we will do another quick review. All right, so that is it for today. Just to recap, we finished up lesson 1, going over the vocabulary and the conversations, and then we started on lesson 2 with our vocabulary. Tomorrow we will review the lesson vocabulary once more, and then we will follow it by reading the grammar, the dialogue, and finally reading and writing, and that will conclude tomorrow. In terms of an upcoming schedule, I'll just write this right here. Schedule. I have approximately 19 days before school starts. So I have now, these Apple Pencils are so annoying. 11 units to finish over 19 days, which is roughly 1.8 or so, doing that mental math. Not 1.8, and I should be doing 19 divided by 11. This is 1.8. This is what I'm trying to say. So some of these units I should be getting through in 1 day, and some of them I should be getting through in 2 days. Honestly, I can't remember which ones are shorter and which ones are longer, so I'm going to largely be playing it by ear. Please bear with me as we go through. I will let you know whether or not something's going to take me a day or longer. I will remind you again, my first day of school is August 26th, and our goal is to get through the entire Genki 1 textbook review by that point. So, that's it for today. Again, my name is Oscar. Today is August 7th, 2024. It is 9:05 p.m., and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.